So, if rumors are to be believed, we are rapidly approaching the unveiling of the next Nintendo console with the Nintendo Switch 2. That is, if you believe Nate the Hate, and I tend to believe Nate the Hate because he usually doesn't say things unless there is a reason to say them. And, we've seen stuff like controllers and pictures of the motherboard and stuff like that. And a lot of people have established a baseline for the power of the Nintendo Switch 2, strictly based on the motherboard images that we have allegedly seen. But I'm more interested in the software side of things. I think that's really going to paint the picture of the Nintendo Switch successor. And when you start to look at the games that are allegedly being developed for this thing, I really think that the Switch 2 is going to be more powerful than a lot of people realize, and potentially that a lot of people are intending with this system and anticipating with this system. So I want to talk about some of the newer game leaks and why those game leaks lead me to believe that this system is going to be a little bit more powerful than I think people are giving it credit for. Now, of course, it's not going to be in terms of raw horsepower. It'll be in terms of things like DLSS upscaling, which we've seen time and time again do miracles on things like PC games. But when you actually look at the software that is being alleged to come out on the Nintendo Switch 2, I mean, obviously you're going to have the Nintendo games, and we don't know anything about those, so we kind of got to look at third-party stuff. And when you look at the third-party stuff, it's painting a more interesting picture than I think a lot of people were realizing. Like, yes, there's going to be a bunch of PS4 games and Xbox One games that are probably right alongside of this system at the launch of it, but I'm more interested in the harder games, in the newer games, in the games that only released on something like a PlayStation 5. We, of course, have heard rumors that stuff like the Matrix demo was running on a Nintendo Switch 2 system a couple of years ago at Games Developer Conference. And I think if that is a baseline for what we are doing with this system, it's far more impressive than people are giving it credit for. You could talk about Final Fantasy VII Remake, which is, a really great game that released on the PlayStation 4, but we're also talking about Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, a game that was only released on the PlayStation 5. Now, you could go into the whole debate of dumbed down ports, because we did see those a bit on the original Nintendo Switch system, and as time went on, you got more and more ports coming to this system. Now, whether that was the result of companies being a little bit gun shy on the Nintendo Switch system, or whether that was actually having to figure out, well, how the hell do we put this game on this platform? It didn't seem like it was quite as fast and furious as we are hearing with this system. We're already hearing that Rebirth is going to come out in 2026, Remake in 2025, but it extends beyond that as well, because now we're starting to hear additional rumors. In that Nate the Hate podcast, some more games were talked about as coming to the Nintendo Switch successor, and I think these are very interesting. Now, one of the companies mentioned was Ubisoft. I'm going to be real with you. Ubisoft is going to put every damn thing that they can under the sun on this system because they're not in a good financial place right now. And I think anyone with eyes can definitely see that. So they're trying to recoup money wherever they essentially can. But Assassin's Creed Shadows coming to the Nintendo Switch 2 is now being alleged as a bit of a later port. It'll be coming out next year for the system, according to Nate the Hate. Once again, that's a game that's only available on the current generation of systems. So I have to imagine that companies are realizing they can do something with this hardware to make the games where it's viable to do it. Like, yes, any company can put any game on any platform, but there has to be a level of quality with those games. Yes, there are outliers like WWE 2K18 on the Nintendo Switch, aka the worst game like ever, but those were few and far between, and those were more anomalies than the commonplace with a lot of these ports. So I think bringing over Assassin's Creed Shadows that kind of shows you that there's some meat to this system. Now, allegedly, they're bringing over a bunch of Assassin's Creed games like Valhalla, like Rainbow Six Extraction or Siege, excuse me, is coming to Nintendo Switch 2 as well. I don't know, like they're just trying to make money at this point in time, and it's definitely something that is kind of, you know, essential for them to make money. But those weren't the only games that were talked about during this, because the final game, very, very interesting to me, and that is Metal Gear Solid Delta, aka Metal Gear Solid 3 Super Graphics Edition. I mean, that's really what they should have called it, because, you know, it's the same core gameplay for the most part. It's the same script. It's the same, you know, voice lines that were in the PS2 version of the game, but you've made everything look modern and pretty and fancy, and this game looks absolutely gorgeous. This game looks absolutely ridiculous in terms of visual quality, in terms of effects going on, in terms of smoothness, and in character animation. And if this game is coming to the Nintendo Switch 2, which is being alleged that it is, and it could actually be a potential day-and-date thing, as this is a multi-platform game for the PlayStation and Xbox consoles as well, once again, like, I think we need to open up the conversation about power on this system. If these companies are already gunning for versions of the game on the Nintendo Switch 2, if it was that much weaker, if it was that much of a hardship, if it was that much of a problem to put these games onto a Nintendo Switch 2 system, I don't think they would be rushing out to do it. Like, yeah, the easy thing to say is, oh, well, the Switch 2 is going to be successful because the Switch 1 was successful. And I mean, there is merit to saying that. Obviously, the Nintendo Switch system sales, I think, far exceeded what companies thought it was going to do. Probably far exceeded what Nintendo thought the system was going to do, at least initially. But, you know, there was that large impact of the system. But when you look at the tail end of the Switch, like, it's gotten a lot slower. So companies have to also look at that and realize, well, you know, this system is kind of dying out. People are looking forward to the next system, but are they going to go out in droves and buy this next system? Is there going to be software alongside of this system launch that will make it worthwhile? Some of these games that we're talking about, such as Rebirth and Assassin's Creed Shadows, are 2026 games. So these are not necessarily launch window games. We assume that the system is coming out in spring of 2025. So now you're a whole year behind the 8 ball. There has to be a reason why you would want to put that game on there. And I think it comes down to, you know, the Switch 2 is going to have some tricks up its sleeve. I think a lot of people are downplaying. I mean, just when you look at it from a raw perspective, 12 gigs of RAM, obviously some of that is going to be utilized by the operating system. Nintendo might actually put a cap on that as well. I believe the original Switch was also capped a little bit as far as the accessible RAM was concerned on it. So maybe you don't have access to all 12 gigs of that because it would drain the battery really fast or something like that. Who really knows? It won't be really realized until we kind of get this system in hand and companies start talking about it. But I really think that this DLSS, this artificial upscaling, is going to be the secret sauce for this system, and it will appear to be more powerful than it actually is. And for that, I think that's very exciting. I think that is ushering potentially a new era for Nintendo that we haven't quite seen in a long time, where yes, the base of the technology might be a little bit dated, but there's additional technology surrounding that that makes it more capable than a lot of people are realizing. And you know, with the PS6 and the Xbox Series X2 or whatever, like, far on the horizon, they're not coming out anytime soon. I hate to break that to you, but this console generation is going to last a very long time. I think the future is very bright for this Nintendo Switch 2 system, and I think a lot of people are going to be surprised with what this system is capable of doing. Hopefully we see something on Thursday, though. I'm more than ready. Hopefully we get an announcement from Nintendo on Wednesday to be like, hey, tune in tomorrow, pal. We got some special stuff to show you. And then they just fool everyone, and it's a freaking Donkey Kong Country radical ripoff trailer, because that comes out on Thursday as well. Let me know in the comment section down below, though. What do you think about this? Do you think that, yes, in terms of raw specs, it might not, you know, add up to what the other systems have, but in terms of the secret sauce, it's going to be able to do things that a lot of people are potentially underestimating? Because I think that's the case, and I think a lot of people are going to be pleasantly surprised with the visual clarity and the output that you end up getting on this system. And as always, guys, thank you for checking out this video. If you're new to the channel, be sure to hit that subscribe button. I can't believe the Knicks lost to the Pistons. I shouldn't even be wearing this jacket, but it's kind of cold in the basement right now, so I decided to put it on. And as always, I'll catch you guys on the next video. Later.